Elizabeth, it is wonderful to have you on the team.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's our great pleasure. Your first story today is something that I understand is very close to your heart, actually going on in your home state of Utah.
I am very passionate about victims who are scared to come forward for any reason, but this reason is one that shouldn't even be a reason, something put in place to protect students called the Honor Code.
Well, let's take a look.
Purity, virtue, honor. To some, they're just words. But at universities all across the country, ideals like these are part of an actual code of conduct that comes with very real consequences.
The students have to agree to it before they're even accepted or admitted.
But could some of these so-called honor codes actually be enabling the very worst kind of behavior?
He pushes me in and he says, "You're a sinner. God hates you, and no one will ever love you."
For Haley Allen, attending the Mormon-run Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah, was something of a dream come true. As a Utah native who grew up in the church, it was something Elizabeth could relate to. But that's not the only thing the two girls have in common.
It's still hard for me because our stories do have similarities, and going back over her story reminds me of how I felt and what I went through, and that's hard. When you came to BYU, what did you come looking for?
I thought I'll be valued when I go to college. People will recognize me as having worth, as having something to offer. I will be important or needed. And that's something that I've desperately wanted my whole life, is to be needed, to have something to offer.
And then along came a handsome young student who seemed to fill those needs.
He was interested in me. I'd never had a boyfriend before. And so for someone active in the church, this is who I wanted to date. This is the experience I wanted to have. And I was over the moon.
But sometimes it really is darkest before the dawn. And Haley's dawn was a very long way off.
So every night he had kind of gotten pushed my limits. He just kept going quicker and quicker.
So he basically preyed on your vulnerabilities, groomed you until one night.
He started kissing me. Then immediately his hands went to my chest. And I pushed them away, and I'm pulling away saying, "Hey, you don't do that." So he got out of the car, went in the back seat, and told me to get in the back seat. And I said, "No, what are you doing?"
That's when Haley says she got her first glimpse of the horror to come.
And I said, "No." And he said, "Get in the back seat or walk home." So I said, "Okay." So I got out and walked home. Like, I was not gonna get in the back seat.
After that,
He just completely ignored me. I said, "Okay." So several days went by. I just decided, okay, I guess we're done.
a blessing in disguise, but one that wouldn't last after roughly a week of silence.
He said, "Hey, let's go for a drive and talk." I'm expecting an apology, you know, for how he's been acting. And the entire time I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for an apology. And he's just asking me stupid questions. He's like, "Oh, so how was school today?" Or how are you?
I've only been ignoring you for the last, couple days, so how was school?
Oh, exactly.
Then the conversation suddenly shifted to the big plastic tumbler in the cup holder.
He said, "Oh, I brought you a drink. I'm not thirsty." And so he ended up stopping to say, "Really, could you please really just try it? I made it special for you. Can you please just try it?" And I was like, okay. And then he started driving again.
But as he hit the gas, Haley's world began to slow way down. Her speech began to slur.
All of a sudden, his demeanor completely changed. He flipped a U and then started heading back to the apartment.
Haley says one of the next things she remembers was being in the back seat of his car.
I come to, my pants are off, his pants are pulled down, and he's rubbing himself against me. How did this happen? I remember thinking, I would have stopped this several steps ago.
To physically not be able to do anything about it. The complete helplessness you must have felt.
And the only thing I could think of to say was, "Don't go in me." And then everything went black. And I hear him laughing. And he says, "Your first time, and you're not even gonna remember it."
So at that time, you knew that you were being raped.
I didn't have the term at that time because I grew up assuming rape was from a stranger. Rape happened when you walked alone in alleys. I didn't know it was rape.
A dangerous yet all too common misconception.
The majority of rapes are acquaintance rapes. We're talking about, boyfriends, girlfriends, family, friends. That is going to be the majority of rapes and sexual assaults.
But it would still be some time before Haley came to that realization. And even though she knew what happened was wrong, she went back to the man, if only to get some sort of explanation. Instead, over the next 3 weeks, Haley says she was subjected to regular rape and abuse from the person she actually considered to be her first boyfriend.
Did he ever show any remorse?
No. In fact, he took great pleasure in making me feel worthless.
It was like a power thing. It just makes me so upset. That's what my captors did. They loved power. I don't think most people realize that rapes, they're premeditated and they're thought out, and these people who are committing them, they're not stupid. I mean, they know how to target women, they know how to target people.
And as Crime Watch Daily dug deeper, we found Haley's case wasn't even close to an isolated incident.
Colleen.
Hi.
So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Like Haley, Colleen Dietz came to BYU full of excitement. Then, shortly after enrolling, Colleen ran into an old acquaintance from back home.
I met him a few years prior because he was from Arizona, so it was a fun, hey, we know each other. We spent, a lot of time together.
Colleen admits she had a bit of a crush on the boy, but those feelings would go unexplored.
He had an uncle who lived locally, who came around. His uncle was 27 at the time. He was a professional, he dressed nice. He was taller.
Seemed like he had it all.
He was very impressive, but I wasn't attracted to him.
Even if you weren't attracted to him, it must have been somewhat exciting having this
He was older.
put together older guy take an interest in you.
Absolutely. And he, through our getting to know each other, if you will, he found out that I really loved music. It's a huge passion of mine.
That's when the man offered to take Colleen back to his place so she could check out his collection and burn some CDs.
I thought that was a wonderful idea because in my mind,
Free music.
that was the most important, music.
Once the two got to his house, Colleen remembers listening to a few tunes and then confusion.
My memory, it does get a little shaky after this point. Somehow he took my clothes away from me. I was in his room. I had never been naked with a man before. He was pulling me down off the bed on top of his penis. And at that point I was like, please stop, please stop. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to do this. He just didn't care.
Making the experience all the more horrific, Haley says the entire time he was committing his evil acts, her attacker was dressed as a man of God.
He had his LDS temple garments on, which was really difficult for me.
And those are supposed to be like a reminder of promises you have made to be, faithful to God. That would be devastating.
It was really hard.
Colleen says that for the next 2 days, the man kept her locked in his room without her clothes. A virtual slave. After that, he made the girl shower before taking her back home to suffer in silence.
I felt shame, I felt guilt, I felt worthlessness, I felt dirty.
Eventually, both Colleen and Haley would gather up the courage to speak out. But instead of finding the support they needed, they were about to start a process nearly as bad as what came before, one that would call their very honor into question. Coming up,
She said, expect to be expelled.
assaulted, then facing exile.
I could not remain at BYU if I were to be pregnant.
Both women fight back against what they say is a broken system.